hello everybody. Why don't you just go around and introduce yourself and say what you did on the movie The Code?
Sure. I am Eugene Kotlyarenko, the writer and director of the movie The Code.
I'm Dasha and Nekrasova. I play Celine Unger um, in Eugene Kotlyarenko's The Code.
I'm Ivy Wolk. I play Colette Unger in Eugene Kotlyarenko's The Code.
Oh my God.
That's fun. Look at these cousins.
Yeah.
Amazing. I love it. Your cousins? Right, in the movie, of course.
Yeah.
I
But
have
did you
seen it.
believe it? Did you believe it,
He
Michael?
did. It sounds like he did.
Yeah, I believed it, absolutely. So, Eugene, tell me what was like the first piece of creativity that went into this movie that blossomed into the film?
Well, the first idea is something I thought about 15 years ago, which is that I wanted to make a rom-com that was exploring the experience of a failing relationship from the perspectives of both people in the relationship. And then I just wanted to always be very contemporary. And so I thought, well, I guess I'll try to use like emails and text messages and stuff. And I was trying to, for lack of a better expression, crack that code for 15 years. And then when COVID happened, I thought, well, what if one of the characters is making a documentary? And that kind of became the backbone for which I could then, because you can't make a whole movie out of emails and text messages. That's not a cinematic experience. That's just video art or something. So then once I had the documentary in mind, and I had just made this movie Spree, which is like a live stream movie where the character himself is the live streamer. So you have a character who's a filmmaker. I thought, oh, if one of these characters is making the doc in that you're watching, then you can kind of buttress everything with texts and emails, and then also surveillance footage, and then also other forms of representation. So yeah, the impetus though was this idea of a relationship that is doomed and maybe unsavable from both the perspective of both people in it. Yeah.
Yeah, you got a lot of, like there's TikTok and there's it's got a very like online kind of aesthetic.
Sure. Yeah.
And that was important to you, or did you ever think maybe I'm not even going to take that angle?
No, super important. I've been exploring this stuff in many of my films over the last 15 years. And well, we do experience many of our relationships, intimate and otherwise, through our phones and through social media so much now. And that would be the only, new way to understand relationships. Because, most movies you see are quite stale and they basically exist in the 20th century. And I'm trying to make a film that actually reflects people's lived experience back to them through these aesthetic modes, and just keep it cinematic and keep it fun, obviously, is the challenge for me as a director. But to ignore those things seems like not just willfully like ignorant, but actually disrespectful to audiences who just are fed the same slop nonstop, Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay.
I'll let those other people defend themselves who make this
Mhm.
slob or the
Mhm.
whatever. It's like a
Yeah.
big blob right there. Let's talk about the cousins. Tell people about your relationship in the movie.
Ivy plays, my cousin Colette, who comes to stay with Celine and her boyfriend Jay during COVID. I think they're both trolls. I think
Right.
it's like that seems to be like a familial trait that they share. And I think, I mean, I had a wonderful time working with Ivy. We spent a lot of time together on set, which was fun and easy. And I like really did feel like bonded to her in a way that like made that relationship feel realistic to me at least.
Nice. They're both very spontaneous. They're sort of liberated, kind of fun, kind of chaotic.
Yes.
Yeah, they definitely are. And I think also they're very romantics. They're both romantics. Obviously, Ivy's character goes through an amazing transformative experience 5 minutes after she appears on screen that influences, Celine's and helps her like recontextualize her relationship, which is full of frustration and impotence and sexual problems. So, but clearly she's coming from a romantic place when she's making this, right? Like, just for anyone who's listening, the movie is about the making of a movie that interrogates, or the movie is this interrogation of a relationship being done by Dasha's character. And so, you know, Ivy's character is like this sort of new context for which she can see everything that's broken. But yeah, they're basically like two little Coco Pellies running around, little chaos agents, creating fun and mischief and screwball antics. And
Why
what's
don't
funny
you
too
tell
is that,
people? Sorry, finish your thought.
no, I was just gonna say Ivy's character is introduced before you ever see her on screen. One of the earliest scenes where Jay, Dasha's boyfriend, is on her phone while she's sleeping. You see a text from Colette, Ivy's character, that says, "If you want me to come there and kick his ass, I will." And then Jay, like, you know, sort of responds, then unresponds because he's like sneaky on Dasha's phone. So you get a taste of her before you see the great performance from Ivy, even. Yeah.
Why don't you give a little tease, a little taste for people out there what the title means? What is the code? What the heck is
Oh
that?
yeah, well, it means a lot of different things, but the
Yeah.
main thing is that, you know, that Pandora's box of when you actually know your partner's phone code and you suddenly decide when they're not looking to access everything on their texts and their, you know, thousands of pages of porn that they have up and their
Oh
DM
no.
and stuff. And but it has other meanings, obviously, like what is the code to fixing a relationship or to living a moral life or any of these other things, or the code to, you because you've seen it, you know that actually the whole movie is like a kind of, I don't want to sound crazy here, but this was my intent, like a Christopher Nolan-esque puzzle box. You know?
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah. The other thing is I really want people to understand editing, how important, how central an edit is to everything they see on the news, to every piece of media they see on TV or online. That edit is in control of everything you see. And so I wanted to make a movie where an audience was thinking about who's editing this, who's telling this story,
Uh,
because the characters are the editors, are the filmmakers, you know? Yeah.
right. And during the Q&A at Fantasia Fest, you said you used like 70 cameras or north of
Yeah.
70 cameras.
Yeah, we used
Jeez Louise.
over 70 cameras. And I mean, the challenge, and Ivy and Dasha can speak to this, is that
Yeah.
not only are they like surveillance cameras and, you know, like whatever headgear, Dasha wore that 360 headgear, but they're also operating handheld cameras. They are the filmmakers. So, I mean, that's unique, I think.
Yeah, what was it like to act with all these different kinds of ways of being recorded?
It was definitely a big learning curve. I mean, I said this in the Fantasia Q&A, but it really taught me to be accountable or like really pay attention to my surroundings when I'm acting in a new way, because like usually when you're acting, it's like there's like one or two cameras and then it's kind of flat the way you're playing it, and then they get your angles afterwards. But with this, it was like the angles were happening, all the angles are being captured simultaneously all around you. And so it's like when you're playing it, you're thinking about playing to all of your angles and your surroundings, but also you kind of have to play it like you would having a conversation with somebody in real life, because in real life, you're not really thinking about, okay, I have to turn my head so that this corner can get me or whatever. And so it was like kind of, I was trying to balance like being more in the environment and like not paying attention to the fact that there were so many cameras capturing every part of me at all times. And also I was trying to, you know, be good for the footage and then, you know, pay attention to those to make sure that I wasn't being hidden or I wasn't concealing myself. And so it was a lot that I had to think about on top of what you're already thinking about when giving a performance as an actor. But it was like a really interesting learning curve, and it definitely taught me to be really aware of my body and my senses. And so it was unlike anything I had ever done previously. Closest to compare it to was probably theater.
And Dash, you're muted, I think, for some reason.
Because my street is noisy, I'm like muting and I'm muting myself. But yeah, I agree with Ivy. Like it was the easiest parts were for me were when it was sort of immersive and the mode of acting was more theatrical. And then the more challenging aspects were when I had to camera operate in addition to acting and doing all of these things. It was like that was a lot to juggle. But I actually really enjoyed just sort of like an immersive mode of I love acting, but oftentimes like in my filmmaking, I really like have an aversion to like singles, to doing like covering scenes that way, because I find it a little like monotonous, both as an actor and as a filmmaker.
Yeah,
Okay.
I like when I was a little kid, I just thought like all the actors came up with the words and stuff on the spot.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the feeling I always try to create in my films, where it just feels really natural. And when I made Spree, my last film, and we set up all these cameras everywhere, 360 inside the car, it was just a great experience seeing actors just go for it for 5 minutes, 6 minutes, and just I know I'll make it really smooth in the edit and really fun in the edit. And then so whenever I have the opportunity, like this party sequence with that Ivy's talking about with like 50 cameras, it's just like, hey, this is fun. We're gonna just throw a party for 5 hours, and like everything could end up in the movie, and everyone could be operating the camera, and it's not like any other scene people have seen in a movie, I think. So yeah.
Nice. Okay. So it's been a lot of fun chatting with you guys today. I got one more question for you. Let's say you're all movie theater programmers and you're doing a double bill with The Code and what other movie?
Wow. For
Sex,
me,
Lies, and Videotape.
Ooh, there you go. That makes sense.
yeah, I guess for me, you got one, Ivy? I gotta think a little longer.
Maybe Joanna Arnau's I Hate Myself.
All right. I don't know that one. I'm gonna have to watch that.
Really
Yeah.
good. Also about surveilling a relationship.
Okay, okay.
And maybe for me, it would be like Pedro Almodovar film or something like that. Maybe like Law of Desire or something like that, where the characters are their emotions are so big that you feel like there are constant shifts in the storytelling, just because like the emotions are so big. And I feel like that's the motivator for me beyond any sort of formal or experimental idea. It's just like kind of like who's in control? Well, the emotions are in control of the movie, Yeah.
Noted, noted. Okay, the movie's The Code. Thank you so much for your time, guys.
Thank you so much. Nice talking to you, Michael.
Likewise. Take care.